Welcome to Just Between Us.
This is the first time I'm not running around and trying to open the wine shots.
Yeah, we've got a pretty
new
stable setup over here.
Yeah. We're at Dean's house, which is an absolute
If you
pleasure to be
recognize it
here.
from my videos.
Thanks for having me,
My
Dean.
pleasure. Where's your friend?
Which friend? Oh, Taryn. Yeah, we were supposed to have Taryn here, but she's feeling a bit under the weather.
So anyway, she's dearly missed. I was looking forward to a sommelier's opinion on some aspects of this wine.
Yeah.
We'll just have to do without. Maybe she can comment if she's...
I hope she logs in and
She
joins
logs
us and
in.
comments, but you know, yeah. And Millie says hello. I think it's Millie. I always get the names sort of mixed up, but hello everybody. We've got quite a few people joining us, which is awesome. Thanks for joining us. You guys must be as excited as we are about drinking this wine. It's been a build-up, hey? It's been
this wine.
2 months of talking about the 4G, and it's finally here.
Yeah.
So, and I'm excited to share with my Wine Shots partner. And we're hoping that his wife Samantha is going to come upstairs and join us shortly.
She'll be
for a
like a
glass.
Yeti if you spot her. Take a picture and make a Reddit page.
I was gonna bring a black wig, put it on her, and tell you it's Taryn the song, but I couldn't find one. Then I was gonna look for a blow-up doll, but then you said that.
That's on you. You can Google that.
I get it.
You can explain to your husband why you're Googling that.
Wine Poet's with us. Hello, Joseph. How are you? Beatrice. All these people. It's awesome. We've got a lot of viewers. Stay with us. Stay with us. We didn't want to open the wine without you guys because this is going to be very...
It's supposed to sort of
Hi,
be
Melissa. Welcome.
all organic and as though you're in the room with us. So
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone who's watching out there has tried this wine, has tried the 4G, has heard of it. If you've heard of it, what have you heard? Yeah.
because I
Know
think,
about it. Hi, Roy. Welcome.
unfortunately, maybe fortunately, but this is the kind of wine that sort of leads with reputation. So it's like when you come to drink it, there's all the hype about the cost of it. There's the heft of the bottle when you pick it up. It's heavy. I don't even think Buchenholz Kloof makes bottles this heavy, and that's saying something.
Roy says it's an amazing wine. So Roy, you've had it. Roy, I believe, lives in Joburg. He's got his own wine distribution company.
Okay.
Just correct me if I'm wrong. If you've had it, please tell us your notes quickly as well. Hi, Lisa. And someone says, I'm watching you from Spain. Let's see what you have to say. Fantastic. Stay with us and we'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. So
What are you saying?
what perceptions do you think cloud this wine and could cloud our judgment before we taste it?
Well, obviously the price.
Yeah.
So it's retailing for roughly 4,000 Rand a bottle. I did see online a restaurant was selling it for 8, I think, from the menu
Wow.
in Cape Town. Yeah.
Or $4,000 a tot from a Coravin or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the write up by what's his pickle? Anyway.
By David Cope.
Yes. And they were serving it.
Yeah.
For a glass.
Because I think that's the rule of thumb, isn't it?
Yeah.
A restaurant will serve a wine by the glass at the same price they paid for the bottle. So
by the bottle. End of story.
yeah.
Okay.
Shall I start opening it?
Yeah, and while you open it, I'll just say, when the wine arrived, I got it. Well, I got contacted by a nice guy whose name is Stuignot, his handle. He is a rep for 4G in Germany. He found my Instagram. We chatted a bit. He sent me through this bottle, and it took literally, I think, 2 or 3 months to actually get it, and we were worried at one point that it was. that it had been stolen. But it arrived, good old South African Post finally arrived. It arrived in a beautiful sort of velvet casing, so the presentation was nice. I should have brought that along.
Is this a security seal? I've never had a wine with a piece of plastic, I don't know if you can see that, over the cork under the capsule.
Joseph
To
says you should
prevent
have
fraud.
opened that one during my presence. Sorry, Joseph. It hadn't arrived yet when... Actually, it had. Roy says it's been a while, but it was dark, fruity, body builder, full-bodied, great finish. Still have dreams about it.
Wow, okay.
Okay, I like this stuff. I like the feedback so far. So it's Joseph's favorite. It's Roy's favorite.
Little bird on the cork.
Okay, you said there's a security seal.
Yeah, look at this piece of plastic over here.
Ah, What's that for?
I don't know. I suppose it's because it's to prevent fraud, right? We all know about the documentary Sour Grapes. Is it Sour Grapes? About the fraudster dude. So maybe he wants to concoct this wine in his kitchen.
Yeah, and the bottle is super heavy. I think it's probably one of the heaviest bottles I've ever held. Would you say?
I don't know if this would fit in many wine racks. It's like not fat, it's a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like the rock.
I love
It's
that.
the rock of wine bottles.
Manfred says, "Hi Katie and Dean, I'm watching you from Austria. The 4G is also available in Austria and it costs about 370 euros.
Wow. So we have it cheap here.
What a treat. When I read up about the label, and if you feel the label, I mean, it's just, you can feel and you can sense the effort that's gone into the wine to make sure that it is,
Is there a vibe here that it's like, I don't think the label changes every year like Rothschild's label, right? But I think the idea here is that the label itself is an artwork or something like that, which adds to the value, cost, the value, the wine.
And I mean, we've had the conversation before that's a lot of people do judge wines by the label. So if you see a 4,000 rand price tag on the wine, and the label's crappy, you're gonna be like, so the presentation has to be there. Okay, we've opened it, we've poured it. It's fairly young. I mean, in red wine standards, it's a 2012.
Which makes it 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it's certainly not going to suffer from bottle shock, I don't think.
Yeah, but I'd be really interested to sort of see what happens on the second glass.
Yes.
As it opens up. Stephen, thanks for the thumbs up. Okay.
Double thumbs up.
Yeah.
Drinking cheap joined, and we're not.
Yeah, drinking. Keep the glass close to the camera. I want to smell too. Okay, sorry, Roy. There you go. Are you jealous? Are you jealous?
In the next update of Instagram, you'll be able to smell through the cameras. But I think you'll need the new iPhone for that.
Yeah. This is a blend of Petit Verdot, Cab Sav, and Syrah.
In the other order. So I don't know the percentages either, but I think it's mainly Syrah, then Cab Sav, and then Petit Verdot. Petit Verdot, I don't know how you say that, but...
Okay, when are we going to start talking about what we're getting? I mean, I think it's meaty on the nose, if I can go ahead and say it's meaty on my nose.
In other words, a meaty Shirazi.
No, it's Roy's fault because all I can think of is a bodybuilder now when I'm smelling.
So can you smell coconut oil? Is there some kind of like, like the bodybuilders, they like, what is it?
Oh.
They put it on their bodies to be all shiny and photogenic.
Yeah, I don't smell coconut.
Sometimes new oak, is it Spanish oak?
Hello,
it gives like a little bit of a coconut smell.
Yeah.
I think this is probably French oak, given that the name of the wine is French as well.
And
so this is the G2012 L'Aube de la Vigne, which
nice.
I think means the dawn of the vine.
Nice.
So it is by no means a simple name.
And it's 18 months in new French oak barrels from 7 different talented cooperages, thus integrating the rich tannins and adding complexity to the wine. And vinification, alcoholic fermentation in both new French oak barrels and stainless steel tanks, strict temperature control and regular breaking of the cap for optimal extraction, manual crushing, hand-picked, sorted twice.
Optimal ripeness.
Optimal
All of that
ripeness.
stuff. I was going to ask you something. Oh, I was going to say, it's also 15% alcohol. For those that like to count numbers, that's an element of the wine.
So I'm going to crawl out of here.
Yeah.
That's why we definitely need Sam to come upstairs and have a glass with us. We don't have it.
Okay, I'm not tasting it.
Okay, but let's just talk about the nose a little bit more. So I said meaty. Are you getting the aniseed?
Yeah, maybe some like cherry liqueur. It to me the nose is quite cabby, so it's got that like cassis. It's got that sort of pencil shaving graphite thing going on, as you would on a sort of a good cab blend.
lots of dark fruit.
Yes.
I've got blackberries on my nose.
That's why I sort of said like a liqueur, because it's actually quite like,
Yes.
I don't want to say sweet, but it's like concentrated dark fruit smell.
Could you say there's a bit of a kirsch sort of smell to
Yeah.
it? It's like in a black cherries. I just think really dark fruits. The color is also very dark.
It's basically the,
It's almost purple.
yeah.
It's definitely purple, actually. Yeah. Dark and beautiful. Dark cherry, maybe, says Roy. Yes.
Yeah, there's some nice spices you said as well. Maybe sort of more sweeter spices like baking spices, cardamoms,
Yeah, a
and
bit of-
cinnamons, and
Yeah.
there's definitely vanilla as well. That's
I
another
was just
baking
gonna
spice,
say, yeah.
I suppose.
Nice.
Some-
Hello to Paubrian. From Escape to Africa. Yes, indeed. Definitely. We've got a lot of viewers tonight, and I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's logging in and watching us. I think this is the highest sort of we've been getting lately.
Highest uptake, certainly at the beginning. So
It was probably because Taryn was going to be here.
yeah,
And
so
people are logging out quickly when they find out she's not here.
if you'd like to find out where she is, please message her directly.
Yeah, you can find her at Taryn_the sommelier.
Yeah.
You can harass her openly. Okay.
Van Lagerenberg Wines joined, and I wanted to save this comment for this moment in time. This wine label reminds me
Yes,
of
yes.
the Van Lagerenberg wine label.
Absolutely. Let me show you.
I hope that's taken as a compliment.
Yeah.
It's quite a busy wine label in the sense that there's like lots of images superimposed over other ones and stuff like that. This is an eagle landing on a vine. It's
What is the
pretty
name of
cool.
the Van Lagerenberg one again? It's the
There's a few. There's the Camaraderie
yeah,
Chenin,
yeah.
Breaker Lake Cinsault,
That's right.
the
I've got a question.
Frank the
What are
Breton.
the grapes? It's Syrah, Petit Verdot, and
Cab
Cab
Sauv.
Sauv. Yes. And according to the specs, it's right bank structure.
whatever that means. Right bank of the Breda River or of the
Cheers,
no,
cheers.
obviously of Bordeaux.
Cheers and welcome to everyone who's joining us. It's so amazing.
So I think we should taste this wine,
Oh, hi.
and then we can talk about the blend maybe
All
a
right,
bit more.
here we go. Wow. It's just darkness for me. It's just like dark, everything dark and spicy,
Very smooth.
very smooth.
There's like a little bit of prickle here and there. I don't know if that's alcohol or if
I was
that's,
gonna say punch. I was gonna say I feel like there's a punch on the palate initially, and then it kind of just coats and smooths over and leaves you with all sorts of black cherry liqueur. Interesting. Right, think of Bordeaux. Shiraz is more round valley. Yes.
And that's an interesting thing about the wine. We'll talk about the blend because obviously it makes certain claims to terroir and all that sort of stuff. The New World being the New World, we don't stop you putting Shiraz with Cab Sauv like they would in France. The AOC rules and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we can debate if that makes it, you know, sort of site specific, gives it a New World sense of place.
Yeah.
But all we said was the wine was smooth and it had a prickly punchiness to it. That's W set for the win over there.
We're not WSET trained whatsoever. I'm very, very jealous.
It is
Next time we do
delicious.
video
It
together.
is delicious.
Roy, we would love to have you on our next episode of Wine Shots. So just message me, and we always we'd love to start having guests. So anytime, just send me a message. We'll do it to make it happen.
Cheers.
Cheers. This is very unique. The alcohol being 15%, you can feel it, but it's not too aggressive.
No, it doesn't whack you like a port would or like
Yeah.
a liqueur would.
Someone was-
But I think it's present.
yeah.
Maybe it will dissipate or whatever, blow off.
Yeah.
I'm picking up very little green on this wine as well. in the sense of like often with a Shiraz you might get like a herbaceous peppery element to it from the stalks. I
Yeah.
don't think that that's here. Even with a cab sometimes you get like a herbal, even perhaps like a green pepper pyrazine
Yes.
character to it. I
Yeah.
don't pick up much of that here. I'm not saying it's not there,
Yeah.
but certainly it's much more dark fruits, ripe fruits, sort of, yeah, end of summer, the last berries on the vine kind of vibe to me.
Yeah.
Obviously fresh, so I'm not like implying a jam or anything like
Yeah.
that. That's why I said on the vine still.
Yeah.
But it is fresh. I would give it that.
And tons of licorice. So if you think of that black movie licorice, that's what I get.
So the licorice all sorts without the sugary bits.
Mm-hmm. Tannins, thank you, Roy. I feel like Roy should be on our next One Shots episode, definitely.
I feel like Roy is like watching us, like he's gonna report back. No, in a good way.
Did they send you, Roy?
He's a spy.
He's a 4G spy.
Um,
Okay. The tannins are smooth. What do I must say?
so
Medium.
the
What do
wine
you-
makes certain claims on its marketing about right bank structure. Now, I assume that is a claim to sort of some Bordeaux heritage. Obviously, the one winemaker, the one consultant.
Yeah.
I want to try to say his name, Denis Dubourdieu or something, Dubourdieu, something like that.
Mm.
I think is famous for, he apparently makes a Shiraz, or made La Chapelle,
Yeah.
so that's some sort of Rhone heritage, but I think he's more famous from being from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Very famous wine scientist, enologist, that kind of thing. The point that I was getting at is that I don't think it has the same sort of rigid, almost impenetrable structure that a Bordeaux wine of this vintage
Mm.
would have.
Okay.
Certainly not a right bank one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not pretending to be a Bordeaux expert, but I've had a fair few, and we've done WACT.
Yeah.
We're basically told, don't try and drink these red wines under 8 years or something like
Yes.
that. This is 6 years.
So it's probably too soon. Somebody, I just missed them, wanted to ask what we think about the cellarinability, the ageability. I mean, yeah, it's.
There's a lovely acidity though, and that forms part of structure.
Mm.
So maybe that it's there. This wine is fresh.
And it's 15% alcohol, so that's going to keep it going for a while too. I think it's got, at least it could go another 10 years.
It's certainly very balanced. So I'm
Yeah.
saying we're drinking it 6 years from vintage.
Mm.
It's there's plenty of fruit, and maybe we're almost missing out on the tannin
Yeah.
because it's that the fruit is the body to the skeleton of the structure, right?
Yeah.
And perhaps this is why the bodybuilder analogy works so well.
It works so well.
There's lots of body to fill out that
Yeah.
that structure. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why I described it at the beginning as smooth, and it
Mm.
still is. Finish is quite long.
Mm.
It's savoury.
Mm. It's gritty and it's thick and it's aggressive. These are the words that are coming to my mind. I don't think there's anything delicate about this wine. I think it's an aggressive but beautiful sort of wine. I haven't had anything like this in a long time.
No.
It's very in your face, dark fruit, spice, just I don't know, thick. And I do think of the bodybuilder, and I think of it's heavy, and I don't know.
How many De Trafford wines have you had?
Cheers, Roy. Wow, it's quite high. It seems the alcohol is well integrated. Me to Trafford.
Because again, he's very famous in South Africa for making very big but balanced wines. So
Yeah.
wines in excess sometimes of 15% alcohol,
Yeah.
but will often win platter stars, and even people who perhaps tend to the lighter, fresher style
Yeah.
can appreciate his wines. This certainly reminds me of that.
Yeah.
He also holds the wines back quite a while, so you often get them sort of 4 years from vintage as the new release. I think I'm not making claims that they're similar, but because his Elevation 393 is also a Shiraz Cab etc. blend.
Yeah.
So this is Shiraz Cab Petit Verdot. So I'm comparing it to De Trafford in the best sense.
What would you eat this with, Dean?
A big, gigantic steak.
Yeah, 100%. Ginormous
With
sirloin.
someone pouring salt on it like this. Or whatever.
Let me just show people who are logging in the label again. It's a 4G, it's a 2012, I think somebody asked the vintage again. 2012 Cab Sauv Syrah Petit Verdot blend. It's number 574 of 3,745 bottles. Joint project. 4 different vineyards. Let's talk about the vineyard a bit.
I don't know about the vineyards.
Okay, well I can always read the spec sheet.
I don't think the vineyards are revealed. I think there's a lot of Stellenbosch in here, but it basically is wine of origin South Africa, which to me implies
Yeah.
it's from all. It's a mix. But some people say that the South African terroir is best expressed as a blend.
Okay.
So,
Gosh, you're getting lots of hearts.
but there's
Which
4
is
people
nice.
involved in the making of this wine. Maybe they're the 4 OGs from
Yeah.
the 4G. They each need $1,000 per bottle, and that's an easy way to split it between the partners.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dennis Bourdieu,
Yeah.
Giorgio Dalla
Nice.
and then it's the 2 women, the 2 sort of token.
I love how you knew the men's name.
No,
Dean,
this
but
is
you
exactly.
didn't know the
I'm
women's.
confessing my own. What is it called? Inherent
Shame
bias.
on you.
There's some ladies that make their pictures look better when they take pictures of the team.
It's getting worse.
There's a Mia Fisher. Mia Fisher's the South African.
There we go.
I
He's
think.
got one.
And then the other lady person, very nice, I'm sure. Essential and
Sam, do you hear
integral.
this?
If you confess your bias, does it make it slightly less bad?
Yes, because it's
Okay.
all about sort of recognizing.
Okay, so I'm a recovering misogynist. In the sense that, like an alcoholic, the first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem.
Or maybe it's just built-in bias you didn't know existed.
No, I'm acknowledging it now. Now I need to work on getting
Okay,
rid
well,
of it.
cheers, Dean. I'm glad that we could help you. Someone was asking if you can get this in America, and I'm sure you can.
I'm sure if you contact them, 4g-wine.co.za.
Yeah, or contact Stewie,
Mm.
who I got it from in Germany. As he organized the whole thing, and he can point you in all the right directions. So what I'll do is after this I'll maybe do a post on my stories of how you can contact him with his handle. You can follow him. He distributes like amazing fine wines. Price point 4,000 Rand a bottle, but when we looked into it, I believe, now don't quote me, it's probably the 2nd most expensive wine at the moment in South Africa. Depending on, you can't really
So
say
this
that.
wine has been in the market for a
Yeah.
while. I think the first vintage was a 2010 or something like that.
Yeah,
So I think certainly at the time of its release, it could make claims to being the most expensive. I think it's been surpassed recently, like as recently as this year, with the new release of another wine. But it's certainly up there. I think maybe even in the top 3, but definitely the top 5 most expensive South African wines.
yeah. So yeah, and I had the most sort of amazing conversation on Instagram on my feed when I first started speaking about the 4G wine. Is that and a lot of you guys reached out to me. I got emails. I got lots of really cool messages. Just your sort of take and view of South African wine. Do you come across boutique sort of higher priced wines, or is it a bulk? Let me throw it out there. 2 Oceans vibe that you're getting, and most of you said you get bulk, and
That wasn't a shout out to 2oceansvibe.com, was it? No, you're talking about the wine 2 Oceans. I'm just clarifying. Anyway, I interrupted you again, me being the misogynist and mansplaining things and whatever.
Just talking
please
over
just
me.
continue. I'll listen. I need practice listening.
Dean, the first step is recognizing you have a problem. That's good. We're on the right track.
Please forgive me and continue.
Maybe I just talk too much.
Maybe we should go to Katie's house because she has like a territorial advantage on these videos that I respect. And when I'm in my own house, I just talk over her. But
You're
let's
not.
talk about the wine.
That's fine. The bulk versus boutique conversation was really nice to have with everybody. So we're gonna be doing an article basically, and I'll be using all of your comments and shouting out to all of you guys who contributed to that. And it's sort of gonna be like my first article. Now I'm just talking about myself. My first article where everyone is the writers. So you all contributed to it. So I hope you like it. Been working on it for a while.
So it's like when they write a TV show, there's like multiple.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's gonna
So
be
you'll
like
be
written by
Story by
Katie
story by
Truscott
story
in
by.
100
Okay.
Instagrammers. So,
Okay.
but anyway,
It'll be one big tag.
yeah.
Okay.
We've had a couple people on here say that that they've seen the wine. Well, I think Manfred said you can buy it in Austria, and there was one other person, wasn't there, that recognized the 4G. Whereas when we're talking about sort of our cult wines that we love so much, or the wines that we feel like need to be out there for the rest of the world to see, let's give an example. Chris Alheat Cartol.
Or Thistle and Weed, or
Thistle and Weed. It's hard. No one has really heard of them unless they're sort of a merchant who represents South African wines out there. But a few of you have heard of this one, so maybe.
And interestingly, because this is a statistic that I read this morning, so 3,700 or so bottles of this wine were made. I think probably the numbers are maybe similar to like what you would get from some of the things Bokkenhoutskloof makes.
Yeah,
Perhaps in particular the Journeyman.
yeah.
But I think, so it was Greg Sherwood who made an interesting comment, because there was a debate about whether the Bokkenhoutskloof, the Journeyman, or the Meerlust Rubicon was the better wine or the better icon for sort of new South African Bordeaux style blends.
Yeah.
And he basically argued it would be the Meerlust because it has a production of 360,000 bottles, which would make it very possible for almost anyone in any country to get.
And we're back.
Whereas this seems to have great distribution, and I think some of the people involved in this wine are German.
Yeah.
Or at least European based, so maybe that's why Europe has some good access to this wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that even at 3,000 bottles, it makes this wine fairly rare,
Yeah.
which perhaps adds to the price they're asking for the wine. Meerlust is 375 rand a bottle.
I'm gonna say it's safe to say people overseas know more about the 4G than locals here.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. We were going to talk about the vineyard quickly, and I'm probably going to read it from the spec sheet.
It's not a single vineyard.
It's multiple vineyards. 7, sorry, I said 4 earlier. It's 7 different vineyards across the Western Cape. Harvest, extreme care, and intense selection. Hand-picked in small portions. The grapes are carefully destemmed and meticulously sorted twice by expert hands. Manual crushing ensures gentle treatment of the berries, and then we move on to vinification, alcoholic fermentation in both new, and then we covered all that earlier. Season overall healthy with ideal growing conditions and a cool, though lengthened, harvesting period without rain. Okay, yeah.
So it's multiple sites, multiple vineyards, which I think is interesting because...
Jodson Sommelier loves wine, and we love wine too.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers to those who love wine. Thank you for the information. We'll look for it. So
Was it made sustainably?
That's such a good point from Greensong.
I don't know.
We don't know.
That's a very interesting question, and again, I suppose you could answer this in multiple ways, because what is sustainable?
Okay,
So,
it's
Are
sustainable.
the bottles...
Sorry, I'm talking over you. I don't
No,
mean to
please,
be
please,
so.
please. What is sustainable was the question, and Katie has some green solutions for you.
It could be. It could be sustainable in the fact that maybe because it wasn't mechanized, the picking, so they're hand picking, so that's a sustainable practice.
As long as your hands don't get arthritic, sure. Sustainable in the sense that they're certainly charging enough for the wine that the people making it will want to continue making it. No. I think the sustainable question is an interesting one. It's an important one. I don't know anything about it. There's, as I was trying to say, there's multiple ways of answering this question.
Yeah, and Les Bon says, well, expert hands pick them, so they must be sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another interesting thing, the weight of this glass bottle getting shipped around all around the world would have an impact.
Yeah.
I sincerely hope the vineyard workers who picked the grapes or assisted in the picking of the grapes and sort of do all the pushing and shoving and the lifting and grunting were also sustainably paid. But this is an important question to ask, especially when South Africans make wine.
Yeah.
It's
and there's a difference between sustainable sort of wine and then organic wine.
Yes.
So that's also two different conversations. I don't know. We can't say this wine if the grapes weren't sprayed with pesticides and all that stuff and what was used. They don't mention, you know, if there was fining or filtering. I would assume there was some fining and filtering in this wine because it's sort of all about elegance and I think pleasing the consumer when you pour it. So they need it to be this clear sort of purple color. I don't imagine, and I haven't seen any sediment in the glass, so I think that all that stuff is probably involved in the winemaking process.
It's a very carefully made wine. That certainly comes across in the marketing. It's polished. So every aspect has been thought about. The weight of the bottle, the label they put on it. I certainly would agree that even if we don't know, we could assume that the wine was fine filtered to give sort of the end consumer the best possible experience of the wine. It's certainly making no claims to rusticity.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's not a Adi Badenhorst wine where he just lets it make itself. I think this is very much a thoughtfully made wine.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, that's a very good point. Oh, it's heavy, hey? That's the heaviest bottle I've
I think we'll finish the wine and we'll still want to pour more because the bottle's so heavy.
Yeah. Found it online, $400. A guy from America.
Canadian dollars?
I think it's American dollars. I think he's from America.
Later to the party, which wine did you show Johan?
Yes, I held it. That's why I was holding it up,
Okay.
and then my biceps were getting sore.
So the blend of this wine is an interesting one to me.
Yeah.
Why would someone mix Shiraz and Cab?
Why, Dean?
I don't know. I asked myself this question. I asked Google this question earlier.
Did you ask Siri?
No.
Okay. She probably would have known what she was talking about.
What I found out
She's a
though,
woman.
and then you'll become the expert again, is the country with which Shiraz Cab blends most commonly associated with is Australia.
Okay.
Particularly because the Barossa is and sort of that wine region is famous for both its Cab and its Shiraz.
Yeah.
And you're famous people because you posted about Penfolds, make a very famous Penfolds Bin 60A or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very, very famous, iconic, obviously it's not the Grange or anything like that, but it's an iconic Shiraz Cab blend.
And Johan says it's an old school South African blend.
It is, so like your Alto Rouge, I think, it's a mixture of many things, but it's predominantly Shiraz Cab.
Yeah.
And there's always the story that people tell of like sort of the Bordeaux winemakers doctoring their poor vintages with wine from the Rhone, Shiraz from the Rhone, as well. So they're, you know, in other words, when the Cab is very astringent, it hasn't fully ripened, they would, you know, add a bit of sunshine to it from the Rhone.
Yeah.
With Shiraz. So it's a thing that people do. I feel like I'm talking over you.
No, not at all. I was listening, Dean.
No, so I think, so from what I understand, Cab is very long, but its middle palate is missing. So it's very aromatic, Cab. It's medium bodied, and it has a long finish, which can make a wine hollow in the middle. So to fill that out, this is why we get a Bordeaux blend where we put at least Merlot or some other things in with it to sort of fill out the wine and make it fuller, richer, more concentrated. Shiraz, on the other hand, tends to being quite ripe and full. So you can lengthen Shiraz and sort of add complexity to it by mixing it with Cab and other things. That's why Shiraz get mixed with Grenache and Mourvèdre and stuff like that. So the two work together, and I think they work together quite well. This wine is fantastic. Other Shiraz Cab blends that I've had is fantastic. You couldn't have it. You couldn't have a Bordeaux according to the appellation rules with Shiraz in it. You couldn't have a Rhone anything, even a Côte du Rhône or whatever, with Cab in it.
Yeah.
I think even Adi Badenhorst, when he made the first few vintages of Secateurs,
Yeah.
mixed in some Cab with his basically Shiraz et al. Blend.
The joys of the new world. You can do
Exactly.
whatever you want.
Which I think is important. I think sometimes the old masters can... they've got some like lovely wisdom and stuff like that, but I don't know, maybe it's a controversial thing. Have you ever had a proper Neapolitan pizza?
I just wanna read these before they go
Yeah,
off
yeah,
the
yeah,
screen.
go
and I
for it.
forgot. Penfolds Bin 389, or known as Poor Man Grange Classic Cab Shiraz Blend.
Okay.
Okay, so is that the Poor Man's?
So it's, but yeah, maybe it's a more accessible grade.
I think we've got some Aussies with us. It's
Yeah.
not usual to make blend Syrah with Petit Verdot. No.
Yeah, it's obviously, so Petit Verdot and Cab go together. It's still unusual, but it's one of the 5 Bordeaux varieties. Syrah and Cab every now and then, but yeah, Syrah and Petit Verdot is very unusual.
Also from several sites from South Oz, Barossa and Coonawarra.
That's what I was saying. So they blend the grapes from Barossa and Coonawarra
There we go.
to make, in general, these Australian blends, these great Australian blends.
Yeah. Zach Santos says hello, and Johan gave us a thumbs up for shouting
And he
out
said
about
second.
Sacrateur.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah. So I was busy saying, I was saying about the old world masters. I love pizza, but my experience of pizza is American style pizza.
Thick base.
Not super thick, not like Chicago deep dish,
Like Pizza Hut.
but Pizza Hut, pan pizza, that kind of like
Cheesy crust.
Yeah. So to me, that's pizza.
Yeah.
And then when you go to a restaurant that makes this Neapolitan, like wafer thin, it's like eating cheese on a cracker kind of pizza.
Yeah.
That's not pizza to me. But apparently that's the oldest style of pizza and whatever.
It is.
So the old masters would say, don't mix Shiraz and Cab together.
Yeah.
I quite
Les
like this.
just, I missed it. There was something about Australia and I missed it. But anyway, I love the pizza analogies. His first time joining in and absolutely loving it. Well, I threw in the absolutely. Les, it's
We're loving it.
Les
absolutely.
Bonds, it's great to have you here. And I need my glasses. Joe Apollo Cruz, wow, it's a long name. In Chile, it's common for 100% Petit Verdot. So they get that a lot in Chile. Chile is on my bucket list, by the way, to visit as a wine region. Lots of exciting stuff going on there. And he says sometimes with Malbec and...
So Malbec, Petit Verdot, Merlot, Cabernet, Carmenère, I don't know if that counts as a Bordeaux of the 5 Bordeaux red grapes, but yeah.
You were saying about pizza, so I was kind of like, it sort of went over my head, but now I'm hungry. So what were you saying?
Nothing, I was basically saying what can we learn from the old world in the new world?
Okay.
And I think sometimes the old world can learn from the new world.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the appellation rules can get in the way
100%.
of making a great wine, and I think that's obviously not a constraint of the new world per se.
Yeah.
And I do think that Shiraz and Cab work well together. They make a great wine, a great barbecue wine if it's cheap, and a great steak wine. And I think this is a great steak wine. I think if you're a high-powered, successful businessman who's just closed a deal, this wine and a steak at a fancy steakhouse will top that whole thing off.
I think that's like perfect. I think you hit the nail on the head. I completely agree with you. I was just going to say this, for me personally, I wouldn't sit down and drink a bottle of this. Now I can sit down very easily and drink a bottle of wine. This is heavy and it's savory and it's enjoyable, but it is heavy. It's high alcohol, and it's complex and it's delicious. But you've got to sit down and you've got to enjoy it. I don't know. Would you be able to smash back a bottle of this?
No.
It's intense, eh?
And maybe that's a good thing, because
Yeah.
at this price point, I don't know how many bottles you could order one after the other. So everybody gets a little pour in their glass and it will go for a while.
Yeah.
It's long.
Yeah.
It's intense. So, you know, I don't know when I last had a sip, but I can still taste cassis, and I can still taste blackberry, blueberry, cherry, spice, all of that.
Yeah.
It's like, almost like, okay, no, I'm
Say it.
self-censoring. I was going to
Say
say
it.
whiskey wine. It's a wine you sip rather than
It
drink.
always comes back to spirit with us.
The
Steve.
spirit, yeah.
Like with tequila.
The spirit
or
of the
something.
wine is getting to us.
But whiskey wine is actually a really good analogy. I like that. It's,
Are you doing the spirits component in your WSET, Katie?
yes, I'm so behind. My test is in June. I agree with you, Dean. The old appellations are not very innovative, says Manfred.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think so. Another place worth comparing this wine to would be Rioja. They make obviously big wines, oftentimes 15% alcohol. They mature them in barrels for many years,
Yeah.
release them long after, you know, after long periods of time, things like that. So we shouldn't leave them out in this comparison. Obviously, they don't use the Bordeaux or Rhone varieties,
Yeah.
but are there questions?
Well, Manfred's saying there are too much regulations here, which make it sometimes complicated. So he's in Austria. And Les Bon says a few winemakers do believe the art of winemaking is in the blend. So yeah, 100%, like a whiskey.
Yeah, or like Ibn Sadi says, the best wine that he can make that represents the Swartland is a blend.
Yeah.
And that's why his Palladius and Columella are always blends from multiple things. And I don't think they even, we won't go into those details.
No,
but
it's the alcohol is really
they're getting to you. But I think, so that's like your natural winemakers, your sort of new hip and whatever people in the, you need a what is it, a palate cleanser.
the reps so much. Excuse me.
But yeah, this wine would basically fall under the most generic appellation in South Africa, wine of origin Western Cape,
Yeah.
or wine of South Africa, which is pretty much like what the hip and young winemakers are doing in France, Vin de France, because they're not following the appellation rules. So this is just in response to Manfred saying that the regulations can be complicated and hold back young winemaker or any sort of avant-garde winemaker.
Yeah, and then Joe Polo says, I agree about old appellations, but I think it's very expensive to change things for them. Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah. So it goes like this. The New World has lots of freedom, but then we're having the discussion about the 4G costing what it does for a South African wine. You know, are people going to believe in it? A lot of people would rather spend that on a Bordeaux or on a Burgundy or something. So it's like those rules are there for a reason, and it's the reason why they have
And
such
it has served them well so far.
yeah.
So Super Tuscans. Yeah. Sangiovese Plus, right? I'm not a fan, but maybe I think I need to drink more of it.
I am not drinking enough foreign wine at the moment,
Yeah.
but
You've got a connection in Port to Port though.
my last order, I'm starting to branch out now because my final exam's in January, so that's the big one.
Okay.
That's like the WSET3 on steroids final wines of the world
What does that entail?
that no one passes. It's just labeled wines of the world.
But is it a blind wine tasting for 2 hours?
I believe it's a 10 wine lineup, 8 or 10, and if someone's doing the WSET and they've done it, I think it's 10 blinds all at once. Or you do 3, 3, 3, 3, and
Okay.
it's wines of the world.
And you're basically
Red, white.
doing a full systematic tasting note
Yeah.
thing.
And then you have to conclude on area, location. I mean,
Okay,
and
so more
grade,
than just a
but-
quality assessment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then it's just like a random question, and it could be about anywhere in the wine world.
Wow.
Anyway, that's in the future. Right now we're drinking 4G. Sangiovese and Cabernet.
Yeah, those are the
Good
Super
luck with the
Tuscans,
WSET.
Bulgari
Need to do
wines
level
and-
3, and then the next one says Roy. Roy, you're back. See, you missed us.
Roy's been there all the time. He's
Roy's-
just been quiet because he's been doing that.
What?
He's been like,
He's thirsty.
he's been nervously biting his fingernails as you've disparaged his wine and I've maligned all women and things like that.
Roy, do you sell 4G in South Africa as part of your business? I am back, he says.
Okay.
Because maybe people can contact you to buy it. Creak, creak. I told you it's a sign.
That's a
Okay,
good
but
point.
anything more about the actual wine itself? We're talking about all sorts of things, but
Okay, so I'm picking up a lot more sort of, do these qualify as tertiary aromas? Or probably secondary.
what are they?
Spent coffee, a more earthiness, maybe like that, like mocha flavor.
I think that's secondary.
That's what I'm saying.
Um,
So
Coffee's good. I'm getting a bit of
wine
pine,
making
a bit of pine needles, some like forest, not forest floor, pine needles,
So fresh forest.
fresh forest, Canadian forest. Bit of medicinal on it.
So yeah, whereas earlier I said I was struggling to find maybe the more greener elements.
Why Lewis says, was that a quick taste of Dwelchy? Did I say that right? Yeah, we're not.
It was a quick taste.
We're
but
not fans of all of thistle and weed.
No.
No, I'm not doing it. That's next wine shot.
So I think more of the green has come out in a pleasant sense. So you described it as medicinal. It's herbaceous. It's piney. It's sappy. It's things like that. It's a very complex wine. That freshness is almost menthol-like.
And there's some cedar on it, so I didn't talk about wood at all. There's very much a cedar smell and taste.
Basically, all good expensive things that you would put in your car to make it smell new again is what you could get on this wine. Pine, cedar. Do we get any ocean breeze?
Oh, I just got.
Do we get any linen and laundry? No. Katie wants some more double key. I don't know what's happening.
I'm trying to formulate my thoughts into words. It is a lot heavier than what I'm used to, and I think it's just deep. It's dark fruits. It's cedar. It's medicinal. It's Does it remind you of a Cab Franc at all? There's Cab Franciness to it.
But so Cab Franc would be that like a sort of herbal, spicy component, which is maybe what we're getting from the Shiraz here. But Cab Franc I find to be quite lean and sort of medium bodied. The body on this wine is all Cab Shiraz. So I'm not disagreeing with you. Obviously Cab Franc also has got a lot more pencil shaving character to it.
Roy says Dirt Road Cab Franc. I haven't had that one. Would you say it's similar? Dirt Road Cab Franc. Who's that by?
Don't
I
know.
have a contact for the 4G. I'd like to do comparative blind tasting with Datoran Black Lion Shiraz. Book 17 and 4G. Feel free to invite us. We'll be there. Hey, you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any
we're coming.
opportunity.
Yeah. Forest floor. Not forest floor, Roy. Forest.
Pine forest floor.
Upper forest. That's what we're doing.
Oh, we said fresh forest.
Fresh forest.
Yeah.
Think north of the floor.
So, yeah.
It's 15% alcohol is intense. Anyway, I don't know.
So,
do you have anything else you want to say?
You said this wine reminded you of a spirit, right? So in ending, in honor of the wine, not to disrespect the wine.
Sam, get a shot glass and come have the shot with us. Let that be your first taste of 4G. I know you can hear me.
She's hiding. So we're gonna do shots
We're calling Sam.
from an espresso glass.
Sam.
She's even closer to me. She's probably watching
She's coming.
live.
I can hear her.
Are you coming to do shots with us?
Bring a shot glass. So this is probably blasphemy, and I'm sorry, Stewie, if you're watching, but it is Wine Shots, and it wouldn't be a Wine Shots episode without shooting. And Dean's wife, Sam, is going to join us, and this is going to be our first taste of 4G.
I'm gonna move over. I'll move over.
Everyone say hi to Sam. Hello.
So this will be your first taste. Let us know what you think.
We want to hear your tasting notes. Yeah, cheers.
I wouldn't do it as a shot.
It's very nice. It's like an elixir.
An elixir. Like medicine. But like sort of with a little bit of stopain and sweet cherry and syrup mixed in, right?
I think.
Okay, so it's made you feel healthy again. Not healthy, revived.
Forest canopy. Oh, Jeffrey is so right. Not forest top, forest north. Forest canopy. 4G means 4 grapes from Esporeo.
No, 4G means the price in South African rand. Alternatively, there are 4 important people involved with this wine. The one person I forgot, but Giorgio Dallassia, Denis Dubourdieu, Mia Fischer, and someone else very important whose name I think is Karen, but we'll check that later.
Yeah, is it not on the label?
And then
It
there's
says
also the
Mia
person who
Dennis.
made the label. So that's a 5th person. But anyway, and then there's this Gesaam ver Kunta or something like that they talk about. I think the wine is inspired by this German concept in aesthetics.
Yeah.
In the sense that things must work together and be united. So I think it's trying to unite the different disciplines in the art world. And so certainly the debate about is wine art, all this and that comes to the fore with this wine in the sense that it's craftsmanship together with fancy wine label, all of that kind of stuff. It all comes together. And I think, so in other words, 4G means many things. It also means this, you can post on Instagram because you've got a good data connection.
What?
4G.
Oh, right, 4G. Okay. So, Sam, what do you think about the wine?
I like it.
What in particular?
Do you taste
Is it
forest
sticky?
floor or
Yeah.
forest canopy?
No, I think you could just drink it, just to drink it. You don't need any food. You don't need a special occasion. Just.
So basically, Dean, she's telling you that you should just buy it for a Wine Wednesday.
Or a wine Monday.
It's really nice.
Rich. Does it remind you of Christmas fruitcake?
No.
No. You know, after they pour the brandy on it?
No.
I think it's definitely got like that very strong Kirschy taste to it. The cherry liqueur, black cherries. Would you say it's more fruity than?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely more fruity.
Yeah.
Basically better than the stuff I normally serve you, right?
Well, like 4,000 rand, I'd hope so.
Giggles on the left. What is there left?
I don't probably the same as yours.
Awesome.
Well,
Well,
this is a selfie thing, so I think left and right and up and down are wrong. Okay, to round off before Instagram kicks us off and Penny's battery runs out.
I purposely set my battery 40% so we wouldn't talk for too long.
I
Dean
need-
does
I
all the
need to do a
talking,
shot.
and he just constantly talks over me. I don't understand it. I think it's that built-in sort of.
It's the patriarchy.
Aren't we all recovering from the patriarchy? Dean in particular.
I'm going to have a patriarchal hangover after this video
I
because of all the regretful things I said.
Shame.
Dean, you're fine. Sam, don't worry about
I'll be
it.
fine.
Insta forgives you. Cheers, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. And
Thanks for having us. Thank you for the wine. It was fantastic.
I'm
This would
like,
be good communion wine.
Dip a wafer in it.
So delicious.
Okay.
I'm not used to 15% alcohol in a wine, so I'm like feeling very.
Red in the face.
It's a balmy, warm autumn night
It's
here in
beautiful.
Joburg,
It's
and
beautiful.
this wine is better served maybe when it is a proper winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys are interested in finding out more about the wine, buying it, just send me a message and I'll put you in touch with the guy who sent it to me from Germany. We can find it for you. I think, like Dean said, it's a really awesome special occasion wine. So, like, what do you say? Someone closes a deal, you order a fat steak, you order the 4G, and you enjoy it.
Or if you've done really well in business and you need to write off a ton of profits against your tax, I mean, an expense against your tax, right?
Yeah.
This is a wine to spend some money on.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Is it worth the money?
This is an interesting question.
Well, this is the basis.
I would rather, if it was me, have a case or 3 of Columella or Newton Johnson Pinot Noir, all wines that would be, I could get 6 wines for €4. That would be my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm a kind of more is more person,
Yeah.
rather than less is more.
Do people know that it's 4,000 rand?
Yes.
Okay,
I've
then
told
it's an
them.
aspirational purchase. You're
It is,
buying
yeah.
it so people know that you can buy it.
I would never have tasted this wine if not given the opportunity to do so. I'm grateful for that opportunity.
You're welcome.
No, I'm saying, so to speak to the aspirational thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
beautiful.
sort of wine that maybe you get to taste once in a lifetime.
Is it better than Penfolds? Did you guys discuss
I've
that?
never tasted Penfolds.
The Grange.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't they
I
give you
haven't tried
those
it.
when you apply for Australian citizenship? Isn't that why Australian citizenship is so expensive?
No.
Okay, we should do a shot.
Oh, I'm
Cheers.
ending
I'm sipping mine like a Kirsch. Cheers.
Like a whiskey. Cheers.
This is true blasphemy, shooting yourself on
So
wine.
nice.
Did you love it?
That's so good. It's
There
so
we
good.
go.
Okay, there's a fan. A super fan.
It's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, Roy said it,
I'll
hey?
service at my second wedding.
Thanks.
So good.
Second wedding.
If there is one.
Are you guys renewing your vows or?
I hope so. Otherwise, I'm out of the picture.
Roy said it really well with the bodybuilder. Would you say it's like a bodybuilding wine? Sorry, I just want to stay on your
Is
face.
this the rock of wines?
Yo, I don't
Or
think
would
I've
you
lived
say
enough.
it's like the husband of wines?
I haven't lived long enough and tasted enough wines to compare. If someone wants to donate a Penfolds to compare in the near future, I'm sure we
To
can
wine
share
shots.
that. So
It's thick, it's gritty, it's meaty, it's licorice, it is blackberries, it's dark cherries, it's kirsch, it's pine needles, it's forest canopy, it's medicinal, it's cough syrup, it is...
just good wine.
So, as you can see, it's very complex. So we got a gazillion things off this wine. It's not your typical wine, it's special.
You
If-
can't throw away the bottle.
There are no austerity measures when it comes to this wine.
Yeah. So it took us a long time to make those notes, but we got there, and I am flushed in the face because it's such high alcohol. I'm not used to it. But thanks for joining us, and we're gonna be. Oh, what a coincidence! We're gonna be reviewing this wine next month, which is Thistle and Weed's new vintage, Shannon vintage, Dwelchy.
Divilkey? How do we actually say it, Samantha?
No, we
Sorry,
don't
Canadian.
laugh at how people pronounce things. It's double key.
Devilkey.
Double. Double key.
Devilkey.
There you go.
So we're having a Devilkey, and yeah, so that's gonna be super fun. And thanks for joining us, guys.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me at your house.
Pleasure.
Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Cheers.
Bye.